Maybe I'm just being selfish, but my 27-year-old partner just doesn't like the same kind of stuff I do. I love him to death, and he is romantic. I know he loves me. He expresses himself in subtle but undeniable ways. He remembers things about my interests, gives me gifts that are perfect for me. He seeks out things that we'll both enjoy to do together. Heck, he can even tell how I'm feeling. Just by the cadence of my breaths and the subtle expressions I often try to hide. He's a wonderful man, and I wouldn't trade him for anyone else. But it does break my heart sometimes. When I try to invite him to dance with me, or sing along to a song we both know, or even just send him a love song and he just disengages. He does so, honestly, telling me that it's not his kind of thing, but he's glad it makes me happy. When I try to encourage him to let the music flow over him and caress his heart like it does mine, he smiles at me, but I can tell he just doesn't understand. He comes from a home where self-expression was punished, where his family would mock him for singing, where people hurt him for wearing his heart on his sleeve. Even now, he's uncomfortable holding my hand in public because he's worried about who will see and abuse us, verbally or physically, even though we're miles away from the people who used to hurt him. His love for me is strong, patient, and kind. Me, I've never been afraid of my own feelings. If anything, I chase them, since I spent a large part of my life in an emotional dead zone due to untreated depression. And now that I am treated and in such a happy place, getting to experience joy and sadness and ennui, and everything is novel and beautiful and fun. I love getting to cry at sad shows or laughing at comedies or feeling the peace of something small and kind washing over me. But the thing is, I just don't know. I don't know if he just genuinely finds romance boring, or if he's so used to not engaging with his own emotions that even if he did like it, he wouldn't even know it. I'm not exactly a very intelligent man. I don't really know how emotions work for others. Maybe other people can't turn a dial in their head that lets them choose how much they engage with something emotionally like I can. Maybe romance isn't a universally enjoyed feeling. I know he and I experience love differently. That's never even been a question. It's been obvious since day one of our relationship. But outside of this one thing, it's never really troubled me. I just wish I could put on a romantic song and sink into his arms, knowing that at that moment, our hearts beat to the same rhythm. I can do that now if I want, and I know it won't bother him at all. He'd even be happy to do that for me because he would see it was making me happy. But we wouldn't be feeling the same thing. The same emotion wouldn't be shared between us, and that hurts. It hurts a lot more than I'm honestly willing to let him know, because I've seen how he gets. I once let him know how much it bothered me that we didn't hold hands in public, and he spent a solid 2 hours in bed crying, having some kind of psychotic break that all I could do to help was be there for him and weather the storm with him. I know he's a deeply complex man who buries a lot of his own feelings so deep that even he doesn't know they're there. I just need to know if I should let this go, if I should stop trying to get him to engage in romance of that type with me, and just focus on the romantic things we both appreciate in each other. Edit. Thanks for the advice, everyone. He isn't willing to pursue therapy. One of his long list of traumas is that he did pursue therapy in his past and had a very good time with it, only for his therapist to abandon him without warning during a time in his life when he desperately needed them. The crying for an extended period was due to an unfortunate combination of factors, namely that I used the word coward, which I didn't know was a word that was used by his abusers in the past, and which I regret deeply, on top of the fact that he does genuinely want to be more expressive with me, but feels like he can't. But honestly, I feel like they nays have it. Maybe I am being a bit selfish for wanting this from him. I'm an artist, and I guess I wanted him to feel the same way about art that I do. But even now, he not only supported, but encouraged me to step down from a full-time position to part-time so I can focus more on my art. He's as supportive as I could ever possibly ask anyone to be, and I should appreciate that as the miracle that it is. Thanks for talking some sense into me, everyone. I'm gonna go smooch my fiance now and see if I can't get him to explain some Warhammer 40K lore to me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. What you want is realistic. It's just not realistic for everyone. Some people love being playful or doing big romantic gestures or dancing in the kitchen while others don't. This usually comes down to personality, but it may also have to do with trauma for your boyfriend. I suggest finding more structured romance. Take partner dance classes, trade off planning surprise date nights, play cute music while you cook a romantic dinner together, etc. Having that additional structure so your boyfriend can feel like being romantic and flirty is what he's supposed to do, instead of something over the top, might help you guys meet in the middle. Comment 2. I wish I could put on a romantic song and sink into his arms knowing that at that moment our hearts beat to the same rhythm. As an old lady with lots of relationship experience, I find this to be a desperately young wish. You got perhaps 99% of what you need. Don't have hubris and wish for more. I say that with all gentleness. No one person is going to give you 100% of what you want or need. Some things my partner needs, he gets from others. Some things I need, I get from others. Know what I mean? Now for the update, thanks for sticking around. So the past few days have been, well, I'll just get into it. Remember how I said my partner wasn't into the whole romance thing? Well, things escalated quickly. 2 days ago, I thought I'd surprise him with tickets to a musical. I figured live theater might be different, might spark something in him. But when I told him, he just froze. I could see the panic in his eyes, and I knew I'd made a mistake. He tried to be cool about it, but I could tell he was dreading it. The night of the show, he was tense, barely spoke. We got to our seats, and the lights dimmed. I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Halfway through the first act, he got up and left. I found him outside, pacing, looking like he was about to break down. He said he felt trapped, like everyone was watching him, judging him. I tried to calm him down, but nothing I said made a difference. I convinced him to come back inside, but it was clear he wasn't enjoying it. After the show, he was quiet, and I could tell he was upset. I asked him what was wrong, and he exploded. He said he felt like I was trying to change him, to make him into someone he's not. I didn't mean to, but I got defensive. I told him he needed to try harder, to open up more. That's when he said something that stopped me in my tracks. He told me he'd been saving up for months to buy me a new set of paints and canvases to support my art. He'd been planning to surprise me with them the next day. I felt like the worst person in the world. Here he was doing something incredibly thoughtful, and I was pushing him to be someone he wasn't. I apologized, but the damage was done. He accepted my apology, but things were still tense between us. The next day, he gave me the art supplies, and I was overwhelmed. I realized how much he does for me, in his own way. I decided to make it up to him. I planned a whole day based on things he loves. We played video games, watched his favorite sci-fi movies, and I even tried to learn a bit about Warhammer 40K lore. But then, my phone rang. It was my boss, offering me a promotion, a big one. More money, more responsibility, the works. I was ecstatic. I told my partner, expecting him to be happy for me, but he wasn't. He said he was worried that with my new job, I wouldn't have time for my art or for him. I brushed off his concerns, telling him we'd make it work. I accepted the promotion. I thought it was the right choice, but now I'm not so sure. My partner's been distant ever since. He's been spending more time at work, coming home late. I can't shake the feeling that I've pushed him away, that I've chosen my career over him and my art. I keep telling myself that I made the right decision, that things will settle down, but deep down, I'm scared. Scared that I've lost a part of us that we'll never get back. I don't know what to do. I just hope I haven't ruined everything. Thanks for hearing me out. Yeah. My boyfriend throws a surprise party and doesn't invite me. Then I find out he's cheating. So I end the relationship and make sure his affair partner sees the light about who he really is. My boyfriend and I have been together for a little over 2 years and have had a pretty okay relationship. For a few months, the thought of breaking up with him has been in the back of my mind. Before we started dating, like 2-3 months before, my previous boyfriend had broken up with me on mutual terms. I mean, obviously I was still upset, but it was a middle school relationship, so it wasn't that important. Shortly after, some of my friends started to point out a guy, my current boyfriend, and tell me he liked me. Honestly, I had never noticed or even knew who he was before this, and we had never talked. We had some mutual friends and started to hang out as a group. Eventually, something happened, and he told me he liked me. One of our mutual friends gave him my number, and we started getting to know each other. At this point, I didn't have much of an interest in him. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and I didn't want to hurt him, so I said yes. Even then, we didn't talk much or interact at school much. It took months for us to talk a bit more, but eventually, I don't know if I just convinced myself to be happy or I was happy. It was at the point that people didn't know we were dating because we never really interacted at school, even though we had some of the same classes. During the summer, we didn't hang out at all. Actually, even now, we barely hang out. I am going to say that I care way too much about other people's emotions and don't want to hurt others. I think that is one of the reasons I have stuck around for 2 years. Throughout our relationship, I have never been able to truly open up to him. And when I do talk to him about my hobbies or some of my interests, he always jokes about them or somehow his friends find out about them, even though I didn't tell them. And they make jokes about them. It makes me feel horrible about my hobbies and interests to the point that I haven't done some of the things I used to love for months because I don't want them to say anything about them. In all honesty, my anxiety, stress, and depression have gotten much worse in the last year, and I'm almost certain that he is one of the major causes of it. It's to the point that my heartbeat skyrockets, and I almost go into a panic attack every time I get a notification on my phone, thinking that it might be him. It's also to the point where I dread having to go to school because I know I will have to see him. It's to the point that I dread having anything to do with him. I know that this is probably not a fully healthy relationship, even though I wish it was. I will be honest and say that I haven't been putting in as much effort as I probably should, but I can't fully control my anxiety whenever I have to do anything that involves him. In all honesty, I have never been truly comfortable around him. I've never been fully comfortable enough to open up and talk about my interests. I know that if I start talking about something I enjoy to someone I am comfortable around, I can talk for hours and hours, but I just can't with him. I just don't know what to do and need advice. Now, for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post didn't have any comments. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around. So, last week, my boyfriend did something that really got under my skin. He threw a surprise party for one of his friends, and guess who wasn't invited? Me. Yeah, that's right. I found out through a friend's Instagram story. There I was, watching everyone having fun. And there he was, not even thinking about me. It felt like a slap in the face. I mean, we're supposed to be a couple, right? But wait, it gets worse. At school, he acted like nothing happened. He didn't even mention the party. I wanted to confront him, but I just couldn't. I didn't want to make a scene or be labeled as the jealous girlfriend, so I kept quiet, like always. It's like I'm invisible to him unless he needs something. Then there's this girl in our class. Let's call her M. She's always been kind of flirty with my boyfriend, and I've noticed it, but I never said anything. Well, at the party, they were all over each other. My friend showed me a video, and there they were, laughing and dancing together. It felt like a punch in the gut. I was so mad, but what did I do? Nothing, I just went home and cried. It's like I'm stuck in this cycle of being walked all over and just taking it. I don't know why I can't stand up for myself. Maybe I'm scared of being alone or making things worse. But then, something happened that changed everything. My boyfriend's best friend, who's always been nice to me, pulled me aside one day. He told me that my boyfriend had been cheating on me with M for months. He said he couldn't stand to see me hurt anymore, and that I deserved better. I was in shock. I felt so betrayed, not just by my boyfriend, but by everyone who knew and didn't tell me. I finally had enough. I confronted my boyfriend after school. I told him I knew everything and that it was over between us. He tried to deny it at first, but I didn't let him get away with it. I didn't yell or cry, I just walked away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The aftermath was a mess. Rumors spread like wildfire, and I felt everyone's eyes on me at school. But something unexpected happened. People I barely talked to started reaching out, saying they were sorry for not saying anything sooner. I realized I wasn't as alone as I thought. Just when I thought that things were settling down, another bomb dropped. M came up to me, crying, saying she was sorry and that she didn't know we were still together. She thought we had broken up a long time ago because my boyfriend told her we were just friends. I didn't know what to believe, but I saw the regret in her eyes. I didn't forgive her right away, but I told her I appreciated her coming clean. It was a small step, but it felt good to not let my anger control me. I started to feel stronger, like I could finally start standing up for myself. So, that's been my week. Pretty tough, to say the least. But I'm starting to see that maybe this was all for the best. I'm learning to speak up and not let people treat me like a doormat. It's not easy, but I'm trying. Thanks for reading. My mother's emotional abuse made my childhood a nightmare. But when Dad got sick and saw her true colors, I took charge and showed her who's really in control. I, 18-year-old female, have had a really bad relationship with my mom, 45-year-old female, since I was a child. In elementary school, I was often locked in a room without food or water from 5, until my dad finally let us out. At the age of 9, 10, I was responsible for babysitting my crying younger siblings during this time. She also has insane mood swings. She would be satisfied with us one moment and screaming the next. It was so scary, and I felt like I was always walking on eggshells. In middle school, she emotionally abused me to the point where I developed mental health disorders. It got so bad that I was engaging in self-harming behaviors because I really wanted to make her feel guilty for treating me this way. But then I realized that my mom lacks empathy, and she's never going to feel bad, and I was just destroying myself for no reason. So then I decided to get better. I'm so much better now, but I still don't have any connection with her and pretty much hate being in the same room because she has given me so many self-esteem issues. She's improved somewhat and is a little more bearable. She's still very critical, but I keep ignoring her and don't let her get to me. Now, the main issue is that my dad, 50-year-old male, is the exact opposite. He sacrificed so much for our family and truly wants the best for us. We have a great relationship besides some borderline enabling behaviors. He never knew about the issues that happened between my mom and me. He thinks we're a perfect family. And my siblings are too young to remember me babysitting them in a locked room when we were all hungry. They don't remember me comforting them during my mom's mood swings. To them, we are a perfect family. Unfortunately, due to finances, I have to go to a college only 30 minutes away from home. My dad expects me to visit every weekend, but I honestly never want to see my mom again. So I'm not. I'm going to go low contact with both of my parents only because of my mom. But I know my dad is going to agonize over what mistakes he made and why his daughter barely speaks to him, despite going to college so far away. My siblings are going to wonder what went wrong and why I don't want to visit them. I wanted to go out of state so I can have a good excuse to never visit, but I couldn't afford it. So now I'm left going low contact with my entire family due to what my mom did, and I feel so guilty. How can I maintain a relationship with my family except being low contact with my mom? Now, for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post didn't have any comments. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So, a lot has happened in the past month, and honestly, it's been pretty up and down. Remember how I said I was going to keep my distance from my mom and try to maintain a relationship with the rest of my family? Well, things didn't go as planned. Out of the blue, my dad got really sick. It was serious enough that I had to go back home more often than I wanted to. And every time I was there, my mom acted like nothing had ever happened between us. She was all sweet and caring in front of my dad. But the minute he was out of earshot, she'd start with her usual criticisms. It was like I was back in elementary school, locked in that room. Except this time, I couldn't escape because my dad needed me. Then, one day, I overheard my mom talking on the phone. She was bragging to her friend about how she had manipulated my dad into thinking everything was perfect in our family. She said she had him wrapped around her finger and that he would never believe anything bad about her. That's when I realized she had been walking all over me and I had been letting her. I was furious, but I felt trapped because I didn't want to upset my dad while he was so ill. But things took a turn when my dad, still in the hospital, asked to speak to me alone. He had overheard one of my mom's phone conversations. He was heartbroken. He apologized for not seeing what was going on and for the pain I must have felt all these years. We had a long, emotional talk, and I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It was like he finally saw the truth. Just when I thought things might start to get better, my mom did something unthinkable. She tried to turn my siblings against me. She told them lies about how I was trying to break up the family and that I didn't care about my dad's health. My siblings, confused and upset, confronted me, and it turned into a huge argument. I tried to explain, but they wouldn't listen. They were too young to remember the bad times, and my mom had them convinced I was the problem. The aftermath was messy. My siblings stopped talking to me, and I felt more alone than ever. But then, something unexpected happened. My dad, despite his condition, sat everyone down for a family meeting. He told my siblings the truth about our past, about the locked room, the neglect, and the emotional abuse. It was hard for them to hear, but it changed everything. My siblings started to understand why I had been so distant. They apologized for not believing me, and we started to rebuild our relationship. It was slow and awkward at first, but we were finally talking, and that was a start. As for my mom, she was furious that her control was slipping. She tried to deny everything, but my dad backed me up. It was the first time anyone had ever stood up to her for me, and it felt like a turning point. My relationship with my mom is still strained, but now that the truth is out, she doesn't have the same power over me or the rest of the family. I'm still going to college close to home, but things are different now. I visit when I can, and it's not just for my dad anymore. I'm rebuilding my relationship with my siblings, and we're all learning how to be a family without my mom's shadow looming over us. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Thanks for reading this update. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.